Hello everyone and welcome back to more AEW on TEW 2020. We continue rolling on our way towards full gear as we start off with our episode of Dark as Sammy Guevara defeats 8 of the Dark Order. And our first match of the prelims to the Women's Tag Tournament, Mary Dobson and Killer Kelly defeat Shana and Yuka Sakazaki after Killer Kelly super kicks Yuka in the face. Darby Allin then defeats Shima. Mayu Iwatani and Serena Deeb advance against Diamante and Ivelisse, Mayu carrying the performance. Jake Hager defeats Cute Team Marshall. Britt Baker and Kylie Ray defeat Thunder Rosa and Melina. Initially, I had Thunder Rosa paired up with Rosemary, but Rosemary injured in the past week, so now I have moved Melina into that spot talent trade with NWA, so yeah. Dragon Lee defeats Hayabusa the Third, or Hayabusa 3, whatever you want to say for it. And then Zombieland Saga, which is Maki Ito and Abaddon, defeat Vipers and Priscilla Kelly. Yeah, pretty good all around. Maki Ito and Abaddon have excellent chemistry, which is great because, well, they've picked up the win. Our show of Dynamite begins with not a TNT title match. It's actually a six-man tag with Cody and the Natural Nightmares against the Dark Order. And the Dark Order actually picks up the win as Brody pins Cody with a big boot. Evil Uno, in one of the live events, he started getting some chronic back pain, but I still put him in the match anyways. He still had the worst performance, but it's fine. After the match, Brody Lee orders Anna Jay, who is at ringside, to grab a mic from him, and she does. She hands it over to the Exalted One, Mr. Brody Lee. And Brody, he just kind of gets down, almost like yelling in Cody's ear, probably, as like on the outside you have different members of the Dark Order are beating up Dustin and QT. And Brody Lee says, "I've beaten you, Cody. Think everyone here should know what that means, huh? Let's be a bit honorable about everything. Let's make it a bit on your terms. Next week, I'll be taking that TNT Championship from your cold, dead body. I'll be dragging it off you. No matter how hard you clutch at it, you'll fall in time. I swear it, Cody, the Dark Order is going to prevail over your damn Nightmare Family bullshit. Don't worry, I'll give you some time to recover." So Brody Lee just really, he's kind of taunting Cody. You know, he's beaten him up the past few weeks. I think at the pay-per-view he even beat him up. Last week he beat him up. Now actually beat him in a match with Brody picking up the pin over Cody. So, you know, a big win there for the Dark Order. And now the Exalted One himself, he's looking for that TNT title match. So that looks like it might be in the main event, probably. In a decent match, the Private Party defeated SCU's Scorpio Sky and Christopher Daniels. That's who it is. Mark Quinn, pretty nice there. Honestly, pretty good performance by Private Party. Pretty much like right after, like in the middle of the celebrations, there's a cut backstage, and you see Renee Paquette. She's down on the ground. She's probably like clutching her head. You know, we haven't seen what's exactly happened, but there's sounds. There's more chaos going on, and eventually the cameraman, he starts heading back there, kind of like a little bit warily. You know, something's gone down. And surprise, surprise, it's Miroslav. He's beating everyone up. You know, he's gotten a bunch of security guards. He's throwing them around, you know, throwing people against walls, throwing people through tables. You know, security guards, just normal backstage workers. Hell, even like a janitor or something, I don't know. Miroslav's just wreaking havoc, and eventually he's kind of looking around. He's, you know, still a little bit fired up. He sees Renee, or he sees the cameraman. He kind of just charges towards him. Maybe the cameraman, like, backs up a little bit. He's like, oh no, am I going to be the next person beaten up? But Miro doesn't, and he just gets right up to the camera, starts speaking, says, "Moxley, you're a fool for not showing up today. while your little wifey here comes and works. Just gonna abandon her to the wolves? I told you last week, Moxley, I'm stopping at nothing to get that championship. I will break your bones, I will break your home, I will crush everything in my path. I know you're scared of me. The best way to alleviate fears in this business is to fight it out. 2 weeks, Moxley. You have 2 weeks to assemble a team to face me and my team, and we'll end each other before I get to end you myself. So, kind of just taking a page off of what AEW is actually doing, where they have the 6-man tag of Moxley's team against Lance Archer's team, kind of doing the same thing here. After this, the Vision, which is the team of Matt Sydal and Lance Archer, defeat the Hybrid 2 after Matt Sydal picks up the victory. And Jake Roberts, he kind of rolls into the ring, and Lance Archer, he just keeps beating down Angelico. I don't even remember if Angelico was the one that was pinned. And Jake Roberts says, "You did good, Sydal. You impressed me out there, and that's not an easy feat. You and the Murder Hawk work well together, don't you say? Now, do we want to make this a permanent thing? Don't worry, we can negotiate more later. Just want to have a nice, clean confirmation if you want to join forces with the Murder Hawk himself. If you refuse, we'll still let you live. For now." And Sydal, he's kind of thinking about it. He's still very much suspicious of all of this. You know, Lance Archer, he does seem like more of a lone wolf. He's, you know, known as the Murder Hawk. That's not exactly good for someone who is a babyface like Matt Sydal. But Sydal probably going to be working more towards a tweener at this point, where, you know, just like, alright, well, I need opportunities. And, you know, his best opportunity was when he was working with Lance Archer during the Battle Royale. So maybe, you know, keep working together, maybe get some revenge on the Young Bucks, and see how things go from there. And eventually that's enough for Sydal. Just shake hands with Jake Roberts, confirms that he will be working alongside Mr. Roberts himself, Jackie the Snaky, and the Murder Hawk, you know, work together. And who knows, maybe Matt Sydal can get Lance Archer to chill out sometimes. We'll find out. After this, Jacob Fatu defeats Matt Cardona. Actually, a 62 for Fatu? Wow. Eddie Kingston then gets into the ring. He's holding the mic. Probably, like, during the entire match, I imagine Eddie Kingston, he's, you know, he's making fun of Matt Cardona. He's hyping up Jacob Fatu. You know, Samoan Savage, you know, maybe even making fun of, like, I don't even know how much Matt Cardona as Zack Ryder fought against any of the Samoans, but, you know, maybe like, hey, you've never beaten a Samoan, you're not going to start now. And Eddie Kingston, he finally says, you know, he's probably like faces towards backstage at this point, and he says, "Yo, Penta, Phoenix, you see this shit? This kind of shit's what you get when you side with me. Fatu's crushing one of the EVP's best bros. Butcher and Blade are slowly making their way to the top of the card, and everything's all peachy. Meanwhile, what are you lads doing, huh? You're still sitting around with that British bitch and sipping tea and catering. My boy Jake here, we wreck and shop. You can't deny that. Pac, I ain't afraid of you or your greasy ass hair. If you want to challenge me, so be it. But you gotta be prepared to face a guy like me. I ain't got nothing to lose, so I'm gonna put my heart and soul into whipping your ass if you face me. I just want to see my brothers Penta and Phoenix do well for each other, in spite of you." Eddie Kingston really going out there, challenging Pac. Of course, Pac really hasn't done too much with Death Triangle right now. They formed, and they've kind of done nothing. I mean, yes, there hasn't really been too much that Eddie Kingston has done with the Lucha Bros quite yet, but it is still very early days, and arguably they've done more so far, just with, you know, helping each other out at the Battle Royale. Adam Page then defeats Bandito in a nice, quick match. Kenny Omega was commentating the match, took over for Tony Schiavone, because you can't just have a four-commentator team, you know, not even with the road agent notes. Pretty much right after, Kenny, he pretty quick, he gets up and leaves. He heads right backstage, gets up, he's done his time, he leaves, and Page, he's won his match, he's kind of looking around just like, you know, hey, are you guys proud of me yet? I picked up another win, or picked up a win even, I don't know. And he's looking around, and, you know, he's helped Bandito up, and eventually he's just kind of almost absent-mindedly. He shakes Bandito's hand. He's still looking very, obviously sad. Bandito, he's still a little bit beaten up. He did have a good performance, and Page respects that, but obviously, you know, Bandito still did lose. He's still a little bit beaten up, and so Page and Bandito, they head backstage, and they head backstage together. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy defeat Santana and Ortiz. And after the match, FTR and Kurt Angle, they come out and they have mics in their hands. They say Jungle, and again, it doesn't really matter who says this. This is kind of just, they can trade off lines willy-nilly. They say, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, hell, even Little Man Marco. Glad to see you're all doing well. See, right now, we're really looking for a lot of challenges, and we're not finding much. The ex-champs are a bit preoccupied at the moment. The Bucks are dealing with that too. The Lucha Bros aren't exactly in the clear either, and, well, the tag team records aren't exactly the best for anyone, except for us right now. So, we'll extend our hands to you guys. We fought well in our match against each other on our way to the belts, so we'll be kind to you. Start prepping for a tag title match. We'll get ourselves ready too. So, week 2 of Dynamite, our second show, these two actually did face off against each other, FTR and Jurassic Express. And right now, we're not really far enough in for the records to matter all too much. So we are still working towards that. I do want the records to matter. I am keeping, no pun intended, keeping a record of everyone's record. Just so that, you know, especially for in the future, we can see who's winning a lot, and we can give people who are winning a lot of shots at the titles, because, well, they deserve it. They've been winning a lot. Sports be sports. And then Miroslav defeats Joey Janela, and afterwards, Miro's music, it's playing, and he stands tall in the ring. He's, you know, he's boasting about his success. He's saying, you know, he's gonna get the title, and Jon Moxley, he comes up to him, and Moxley, you can tell, he's not just fired up, he's pissed. He is, you know, there's like a kill switch turned on him right now. And he probably, he pulls Miroslav off, starts beating him down, and it's real stiff looking. I'd imagine that both these guys would be pretty okay with working stiff, so they'd probably be working stiff with this segment. And eventually, Moxley gets him to a corner, hits him with a drop kick, and Mox, he's getting down, he's yelling at him, he's real fired up at this point. He says, "You want to fight, huh? We'll get the most damned fired up Jon Moxley you've ever seen. Get your team ready, I don't give a damn. I could beat you myself if I needed to." Stuff like that. Probably, honestly, you'd have a little bit of audio cut out on the actual broadcast, because I imagine there is going to be a decent bit of F-bombs said at this point, because I imagine that both of them would probably be like, you know, even with Colin, with Cody, everyone would be like, hey, make this as real seeming as possible. And, I mean, Jon Moxley, according to the story, you know, his wife got beaten up by Miroslav, so Mox would be, pretty fired up about this. So they're working stiff, they're getting fired up, and both of them very dedicated to the business, both of them very much in favor of, you know, trying to keep things realistic, I would think. And so, Mox, he just keeps yelling, and eventually Miro manages to get up to his feet, kind of tackles Moxley, hits him with a Thez press, basically. Just, again, more stiff strikes to the face, and security, they manage to get to the ring. They separate the two, but they're not really all too successful, because Miro, he easily breaks through these generic security guards. He starts beating down Moxley a little bit more. Moxley's fighting back, Miro's fighting back, there's stiff punches thrown everywhere, and then eventually, like, some wrestlers from backstage even show up. So, you know, some people who weren't booked, definitely not any of the major people, so, you know, we don't have any, like, Chris Jericho, MJF doesn't show up, none of the Elite show up, nothing like that. Just basically some people who would be in our unimportant category would show up, so, you know, people like Serpentico, Flamita, or Robert Anthony. Again, just minor card people like that. They start separating them, and they at least do better, and the show ends with those two, they're yelling at each other, they really want to keep fighting, but they kind of just get dragged out, and our show ends with a 66. Yeah, we pretty much only had our main event, or not even our main event was that good, it was our final segment that was good. Bit disappointing, but it is still working up towards some stories, so we'll look forward to that. Hopefully we'll have some better shows as we progress along. Head on to our next week of Dark and Dynamite.